Notion is an all-in-one application that helps you be organized in your personal and professional life. It helps you be more productive. In this video, I'm going to go over useful keyboard shortcuts in Notion to help us be more productive. Yes, after this video, we're going to be more productive in our productivity application. Let's get into it. Any good piece of software will have a good number of keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts allow us to be more productive and efficient using that particular software. I always say with most pieces of software, the keyboard is always faster than the mouse. The less you have to pick up the mouse or, click somewhere, the more efficient you can be just staying on the keyboard. For example, Microsoft Word, if you know all the keyboard shortcuts for that, you'll be so much more efficient using it. Notion is no exception to this rule. My name is Patrick, and this is Everyday Tech for everyday people. And in this video, I'm going to go over some useful shortcuts for Notion. Some are more obvious than others, and some are just little shortcuts that'll save you so much time. So I'm going to go through a quick hands-on demo of these shortcuts in action. Now I'm going to go through quite a bit of shortcuts, so feel free to go to the timestamps below in the description and just skip to whatever category you want to see. These first set of shortcuts are what I like to call global shortcuts. They have to do with the interface itself and not necessarily the editor. I'll get into the editor in a more detailed way very soon, but these have to do with just general interface shortcuts here. Before I get started, this Notion database that's on the screen right now are all the shortcuts that I'm going to go through in this video, and a link to it is in the description below, and feel free to duplicate it or just use it as a reference for your own use. Now the first two shortcuts I'm going to show you apply to the app version of Notion only and not to the web version. All the other shortcuts I'm going to show you should apply to both. Now if you're on a Windows PC, anytime you see CMD or Command, you can see that as Control, and anytime you see Option, you can use Shift. Now I know there are other shortcuts with the Shift key on it, but I don't believe there's any Shift Option combinations of shortcuts in Notion. So let's get into these commands. So the first two are the app only ones, but if you have multiple workspaces, you can switch between those workspaces really easily by using command and then the workspace number. So if it's your main workspace, you do command 1, command 2, and so forth. So this workspace happens to be command 2, and then I have another demo workspace, fourth one, command 4. Now sometimes you want to work with more than one Notion window. So on the web browser, you would just open up a new tab or a new window and just open up Notion again. On the app itself, you can do Command Shift N, and it should open up a new window, and you can just start using them side by side. One of the beauties of Notion is its search feature. If you want to search within pages, or you want to see what recent pages that you've been working on, you can use Command P or Command K, and that'll bring up the search dialog. So there it shows you the recent pages, and then you can start searching within the workspace on the different pages you've been working on. Then we'll wrap up this global category with a few interface shortcuts here. If you want to toggle between dark mode and light mode, you can do Command Shift L, so that turns it on and off. And then this is probably one of the most useful ones for me, is to toggle the file explorer on the left here. You can do that with Command and \. If you want to do the comments window, which shows you also the latest different updates, you can do Command Shift \. And then if you want to toggle both of them at the same time, you do Command period, and that should show you both windows and toggle between them. So those are different interface shortcuts. Now, of course, the first command you learn when you open up Notion is the / command, which brings up the dialog box and gives you all the basic blocks and all the different things that you can insert into a Notion page. But in this video, we're going to go over how the different shortcuts to invoke these different types of blocks without going into this dialog box. The default block type is the text block, but there is the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3 blocks. And so the shortcut for invoking those is the # or the number sign or the number key. So if I wanted to do the heading 1, I would do 1 # space, and I have the heading 1. For heading 2, I do 2 # space, heading 2. And same with heading 3, 3 #, heading 3. Now the space is important. If I don't do any space, you're not going to get the desired results that you want. And the space is important because some commands require the space and some commands won't work if you use the space. So we'll get into that as we go through these different shortcuts. To create a bullet list, we can use the minus, plus, or star key and plus the space, and that'll start a bullet list. So if we go minus space, and that already starts the bullet list. Of course, to create another item in the bullet list, you just hit enter. It goes right to the next item here. Now to get out of this list here, we would go to the next list and then hit enter again, and then you're already out of that list. To create a numbered list here though, you would do 1 dot space, and it creates the numbered list here. And of course, it auto increments the number here. Now you don't have to start with 1. Let's say you want your number list to start with 2. You can hit 2 dot, and that'll automatically increment from where you started there. I'm not sure why you would do that, but that's an option there. Now, if you wanted to nest some of these items, you would go to the item and you can hit tab here, and that'll automatically nest the different bullet points here. And you can do the same with a numbered list. This is really more of an outline type of list, and you can go ahead and tab this item, and that'll automatically nest that item with the item above it. One easy way to organize your page is through dividers. That really separates the different sections here. And the shortcut to creating a divider is just 3 minus signs or 3 dashes. So let's say I want to create a third section here, but first I want to create a divider. Let me do the dash sign 3 times. And that creates the divider there, and I can go ahead and create my third section here. To create a to-do list, you're going to use the open and closing brackets, one right after another. So open, close, and that creates a to-do list. So this works very similar to the bullet and number list, where you can just hit enter to go to the next item. And also you can do some nesting here. So if we have a group here, I hit tab, this goes to a different level here, right? And if I want to go back to the first level, I would hit shift tab, and that takes me back to the main level here. And if I want to get out of this to-do list, I would hit enter again, and that takes me out of the to-do list. Now remember, this is the open and closing bracket, but you shouldn't have any spaces in between, because if you do space, that won't invoke the to-do list block. Toggle lists are a good way to organize your content by being able to show or hide sections of content. Now to create a toggle list, we're going to use the greater than or right angle key plus a space. So here we go. We're going to do the key, right angle key, space, and now we create our toggle list. So now we're in the heading of the toggle list here. And when we hit enter, we enter into the contents of the toggle list. Now this toggle list can be any kind of content, headings, dividers, bullet lists, anything that we've talked about before. Now to get out of this toggle list, you would hit enter and you would go to the next line. Now, unlike the number list and the bullet list, if you hit enter again, you're still in that toggle list. So to get out of that toggle list, you're going to either hit shift tab, and that'll get you out of that toggle list, or you would simply hit backspace, and now you're out of that toggle list. So now we're going to create another toggle list here. Now there is a shortcut to actually expand or close all the toggle lists here, and that's Command Option T, and that'll toggle opening, closing those toggle lists. Now this expands or closes or toggles all the lists on the page. Now as of this recording, there is no shortcut key to expand or close an individual toggle list. It's all or nothing here. Block quotes are used to highlight or make a certain section of text stand out. So it can either be a quote from somebody or a key statement in an article. The way to create a block quote is to use the double quotes here, space, and now we've created our block quote section here. And now we can put our block quote in here. And to get out of there, we just hit enter, and now we're out of the block quote. If you want to have multiple lines within a block quote, you would hit shift, enter, and now you're still in the block quote here. And then to get out of there, of course, is to hit enter again. If you want to insert an emoji or an icon into a Notion document, you can do that by going colon and start searching for the type of icon or emoji you want to have. And that'll automatically insert it in there. This is very similar to what Slack uses. And you can use this in any kind of element in Notion. We have our H1 here, H1 heading title, and we can insert, let's say, a monkey icon or a monkey emoji. You can even do it in the document title here. So let's put a page document there. So this can be used in any element in Notion. So one of the things you can do in a Notion page is to create a link to another page, create a subpage for that current page that you're on, or even create a new page that can go into another section. And the keyboard shortcut is using 2 open brackets here. And that'll bring up the dialog box for you to search for existing pages. So if we link to this WordPress Notion content starter, we've just now created a link from this page to that page. So that goes right to that page. We can also create a subpage under this. And so let's start typing, this is a new subpage. And we're going to make this as a subpage under this demo link page here. So now we have a link to the subpage here. As we can see on the window explorer here, we've created a subpage under this demo page. Now another way to do this is with the plus sign. Now if you remember before with the bullet list, if you do plus space, that creates a bullet list here, right? But if we don't use the space, we can do plus and start typing a page. And this creates either a link to an existing page, or we can do the same thing as what we did before, create a subpage. Or we can create a new page and we can choose where that new page would go, either under another workspace or another subpage under another section. If we wanted to do a reminder, tag people, or do another way to link to other pages, we can use the @ sign. So if we do @, this will bring up the menu. So we can do reminders for ourselves here, or we can tag other people if we're doing a collaborative Notion document, or we can do links to other pages, or actually you can actually create a subpage as well under this page, similar to what we had with the shortcut before. So there are a set of shortcuts that are used for formatting highlighted text. And these are very similar to what you'll see in other text editors, but also some of these are very Notion specific here. So the first keyboard shortcut is we're going to use Command K. And if you remember from before, Command K is used to search through pages or look through recent pages that you've done. But when you use it with selected text here, you use it to create a link or a hyperlink. So if you have a paragraph here, and let's say you just want to make this part a link, you would do Command K, and you can go ahead and put in your link there. And if we want to make this part bold, this is Command B. This word italicized, Command I. If you want to do underline, Command U. Strike through is Shift Command S. In Notion, you can designate a group of text to be code. So let's say you put some snippets of code into Notion or doing some documentation. You can designate this as code. And so you say select the text and you go Command E, and it designates it as code. And so that's what Notion designates as code as far as formatting is concerned. And there's something similar for formulas. You do Command Shift E, and that creates a formula there. Now the next set of shortcuts are probably some shortcuts that have probably saved me the most time as far as Notion is concerned. And I like to call these block shortcuts. Now this is related to the different individual blocks. So right now I have 3 text blocks here. But the first one I'm going to show you is Command A, which is select all. And this is pretty much a universal shortcut for almost every program that's out there. But in Notion, there are some subtle differences or subtle behaviors that you need to find out. So let's say you're in something like an individual block here. You're editing an individual block and you see the cursor there. If you hit Command A, that selects all the text in the block there. But if you wanted to do the entire document or select everything in the document, what you need to do is Command A again. So Command A basically twice. So the first Command A is the one that selects everything in that block. The next Command A selects everything on that page. Now there is something that's a little bit subtle that I want to point out is here. When you do Command A within a block, it actually doesn't select the entire block. It selects all the text within that block. If you hit Escape itself, now you can see a little bit different how it selected everything around the block. So let's do that one more time. If I do Command A within that block, it selects all the text. But if I hit Escape within that block, it actually selects the entire block itself and not just the text within that block. Now this is a very subtle difference, but some shortcuts only work based on a selected text, and some shortcuts only work on when you highlight an entire block. I've gone ahead and changed the background of these different blocks here just to kind of demonstrate this next shortcut. But if you wanted to change the order of these blocks, of course you can drag and drop them with the mouse click there. Or if you have one selected, or if you're in one, you can do Command Shift up or down arrow. So in this case, I'm going to move it all the way to the bottom. And so now we can see that we can change the order of these. If I go into this block in the middle here, I can change that, do Command Shift up. Let's bring it back to the same order and bring this back there. So this is one really quick way to change the order of the blocks. Another useful shortcut is the matter of duplicating blocks. You can do this by Command D. Now all you need to do is have a cursor in the block you want to duplicate, and you hit Command D and it'll automatically duplicate the entire block. So we can go here, duplicate all these different ones, and it's that easy. So sticking with this sample page, let's say we want to highlight a certain block here. And of course we can highlight the whole block and go ahead and change the background here. But let's say we change that to purple. And let's say we want to change certain paragraphs to purple because we just want to highlight them, right? So we can go in to a certain block, hit Escape to select the entire block, and do Command Shift H. And what Command Shift H does, it uses the last highlighted color that you used before and applies it to the current selection. So we're going to do this to the last paragraph as well, Command Shift H, and it also applies the same background color. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make all this default for now. This can also be applied to selected text as well. So let's say we want to highlight this text and we want to make it a background of orange, okay? But let's say we also want to go through this paragraph or through all these paragraphs and just highlight certain words orange. So, okay, that one I want to highlight orange. So I'm going to do Command Shift H again. That makes that orange. That makes that orange, and so on and so forth. So it's an easy way to kind of go through each of the different words and just highlight them. If you're just looking for a certain word and wanted to highlight all those words, you can do that too. So I use that last highlighted color shortcut a lot when I was creating this Notion database. And I put a bunch of entries of shortcuts in here, but I didn't color code some of the modifier keys right away. And I realized I wanted to do that. So I went in here, I highlighted the first one, set the color, and then I highlighted every time I did CMD, I used Command Shift H to make sure it was highlighted the same colors. And then I did the same with the other modifier keys. If you're someone that uses the comments feature in Notion a lot, then you want to know Command Shift M. And Command Shift M basically brings up the comment box of whatever you have highlighted. So if you have an entire block highlighted here, I can do Command Shift M. That'll bring up the highlight box, and I can put in my comment. You can also do this for individual words as well. So let's do a Command Shift M, and there you go. Command Shift M is an easy way to add comments to your Notion document. One of the features of the Notion editor is the ability to change blocks into different types later on, afterwards. So you can go ahead and select a block here. You can right click and say turn into, let's say, a heading. This can be done easily through a few keyboard shortcuts, and there's different ways to do this. But one way is to use the /T command. So once your cursor is in one of the blocks, you say /T, and it'll bring up the turn into dialog. So we can go ahead and change this into heading 1, and you can choose whatever block type you want. But there's an easier way to do this, and this is by applying what we've learned earlier in this video. So let's go ahead and undo this already, and let's change this one into a heading 1 block type. Now, if what we learned earlier in this video is a shortcut to creating a heading 1 block is the pound or number sign plus a space. So we can do the same thing with this paragraph block, text block here. And now we've changed it into a heading 1. Let's change this into heading 2 and heading 3. Let's say, oh, I really wanted this heading 3 to be a heading 2. We can go ahead and change it again. Two of them, and then there we go. Now this also applies to other types. Let's say we want to make this a bullet list, dash space, that creates a dash space, that creates a bullet list. Then also we can do for this for number list, 1 dot space. And then we can also do this for to-do list. Open and close brackets, and it automatically creates the to-do list there. So those are a number of useful keyboard shortcuts in Notion. Now I haven't included all the keyboard shortcuts in this video. For example, if you're into Markdown, Notion does support a number of Markdown tags in Notion itself. And if you want to see those, I've included those also in my Notion keyboard shortcuts database, which again, I've linked in the description below. So feel free to use that link as a reference or duplicate it for make your own copy of it. If you found this video helpful, give it a like and consider subscribing. Until the next one, see ya.